Our summer series and the focus of our worship cafe is so that by the end of the summer we might be able to say, when we say we are a progressive church, we mean, and last week we looked at, we take risks. Remember, we talked about acting bodaciously, about being audacious. Today, our passage, today I want to focus on, very quickly, core stories. That when we say we're a progressive church, it means we've heard a core story that Jesus told his people. Have you ever gone to the Bible and not been able to find the passage you were looking for? Oh yeah. So, here we have Jesus going into the temple, and they hand him a copy of the scroll of Isaiah. Now the scroll is probably written on papyrus, and he knows where papyrus. Oh yeah. That would be a bit too fruity to survive, wouldn't it? So, he finds this passage. Now, the only way I can ever find pieces of Scripture is if they're favorites of mine, if I know them well. And there's lots in the Bible that I just wouldn't be able to find without Google. So, Jesus receives this scroll, and he finds these verses. And I want to suggest to you that he did it because this is a core story, a core way that he viewed his mission. It was a purpose that he had given his life to. What are the words? The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of God's favor. I've always wondered why churches thought that they should have a mission statement that they made up in their own words, because I always kind of thought that this mission statement that Jesus had for himself is one that all churches should adopt as their own. I want to suggest to you that when we look at this, and Val's illustration was very helpful, as was Ed's story. You know, when we let something be a core story, it touches us personally. It touches our heart. It changes our behavior. But the story is more than personal. And so we know from Ed's story, a tremendously personal story that he underwent, but was part of a movement of people immigrating from Ireland, from various parts, and coming to Canada. So it was personal, but it was also social. It was community. It's what happened to the communities back in Ireland when so many people left. It's about what happened in a relatively young country when so many people came with energy and skills. So these core stories happen both at a personal level and at a community level. So Jesus felt he was anointed, he was called, he had been appointed. And so he went around individually and personally, touching people and healing them and proclaiming that life could be better, proclaiming that God was present in their lives. He touched people. He was what's called in some circles a critical presence. That is, at the time of people's deepest need, he was with them. The person who had sat by the pool, the healing pool, he was so close, but he couldn't actually get himself in to experience the healing waters. And Jesus comes along on the road, we're told, and he stops. And he heals this person. He had it as his personal mandate, but changed the world for the one he did it with. But the people who observed what was going on in the community, it gave them hope of a new way, of a different presence. This passage is a core story, I believe, for Jesus. And I believe that 2,000 years later, it still is a core story for the mission and purpose of a progressive church, where we look at ways to help people recover sight, and we seek to recover sight ourselves. We seek to be liberated, and we seek to be in our community a liberating force. Well, I want to say that a progressive church is one that works and seeks our own personal connection and involvement with the stories of our faith, as well as working in the community, so that we will be following this core mandate to be good news and to proclaim that there is a more hopeful way to live. Well, thank you for listening. That's what I've got to say today.